Hello, I'm Azai. Welcome back to Harmonic Reflections. This is actually the longest time since I've recorded a Harmonic Reflections episode. Usually I do these on Sundays, and if I miss it, I usually do them on Mondays, but today is a Tuesday. I can't really say anything. I've been kind of engrossed in this game called Symphony of War. So I got no excuse. I was literally playing that game up until like 3 a.m. It even like messed up with my sleep a bit. But surprisingly, I'm feeling pretty good. I came back from the gym maybe about 2 hours ago. No, maybe about like half an hour, sorry. 2 hours is like way too long. But yeah, I was just eating some food, watching a tiny bit of more Symphony of War. I was watching like people doing the hardest difficulty on a new game, and it's pretty challenging getting the S ranks. Just going through the game is not that difficult, but getting the S ranks on all of the maps is pretty difficult. Though I don't think you actually need that for an achievement. I just like playing it like that. But yeah, let me just do the last episode recap. But it's probably going to be a very abridged last episode recap since it's been more than a week. And I've been playing more games, right, on the side. I've been playing Shrift, I've been playing Fate Stay Night. And of course, Symphony of War is taking most of my time the past couple of days. But I believe the previous chapter we were going to watch the competition for Tachibana, right? And of course, in typical anime fashion, they were going to showcase some like Tachibana like going like before the finals, it was like super. She was just steamrolling, right? I think that's the term for it. She was just cruising through the finals until she kind of her toe was still doing its thing or whatever. And at the finals, they were doing the anime moment where it's like a tie. Or I guess it's technically not a tie. Like Tachibana was winning at first, but then suddenly the rival kept up. You know, the black sheep. The black horse? Is it the black horse or the black sheep? I think it's the black horse. She even like won past her, but then, yeah, we didn't know that she was going to win. Depends on whether or not you believe Sari about her future memories or whatever. But yeah, I believe this was also, like last episode was also when we called our mom, I think? Or was that the previous episode? It could be the previous episode. But yeah, we haven't really talked to Tachibana yet after she won. So we'll see what's gonna happen. That was legit the like big thing that happened right on the previous episode. The fact that Tachibana won and she's going to say something to us. Or we're gonna fulfill something for her. It was the karate club's checkout there. They were now boarding the bus with their big bags in tow. Their destination was the closing and award ceremonies, after which they would disband without coming back here. We also saw Tachibana's mom, right, on the previous episode. And she said something about us going back to our roots, which we still have no idea what that's about. Angie said a large bag slung over his shoulder. Amane-san replied in a gentle tone. Choco mushrooms, the fuck? That sounds disgusting. She nodded. Nearly 20 girls, plus 3 boys who seemed more like tagalongs, boarded the bus. Tachibana stepped in front of Amane-san. I'm not an item, you know. What's going on? I'm pressing enter, but it's not doing its thing. Yeah, my keyboard is weirdly not working there for some weird reason. Tachibana answered her sharp remark with a cheerful smile and stepped onto the bus. Is the enter key like busted on this? It might be. The bus departed. I guess I'll be using the mouse for a bit. Might have to change the switch for the enter key. The sound of the engine faded into the distance, leaving only the forest's quiet hum.
バルト君、デートはしたでしょ？今日は働いてもらうから。チェックアウト後は結構大変なの。
Of course. But once we got working, it wasn't really that tough. I cleaned the cabins where the karate club had stayed and changed out the linens. After cleaning the cabins, I washed the sheets in the laundry room. While I waited for them to dry, I found myself with nothing to do. Amane-san hadn't said anything specific, so I figured her plan had already run its course. My heart was ready. And it was Amane-san and Tachibana who had given me that courage. I went to the admin building and called out to the owner. Courage for what? Face your past or whatever? No, that's not it. I smiled and continued. Do you have any other photos of musicians who stayed here in the past? I'd like to see them. Yes. Was that all of them? Oh, we're probably gonna see pictures of us together. It's fine. I think Amane-san was going to show them to me eventually. The owner stood up with his usual gentle smile. The next day, Tachibana chose the nearest station to the lodge as our meeting place. They actually skipped that part, that's so annoying. They want the sense of suspension. It was the same place where Amane-san had once waited for me. Apparently, it was a standard meeting spot for the locals. It may have been the nearest station, but it still wasn't within walking distance. I still needed a vehicle. I borrowed one of the lodge's scooters and parked it at the coin-operated lot in front of the station. Yeah, they have those coin, parking lot thing in Japan because parking lots are so expensive. The JR station was quiet again today. If it was this empty during summer break, then it might have been more deserted on weekdays. It was 20 minutes before our meeting time. Tachibana was already standing at the spot we had agreed on. Damn, she is super early. 20 minutes? A new outfit. It was my first time seeing Tachibana in casual clothes. Did you go to the doctor or something after your, competition? Your toe might need to get checked out. I didn't know much about girls' fashion, but her outfit looked comfy and neat. Still, she looked like she could throw one of her signature high kicks at any moment. It's so weird seeing her hair not tied up. She didn't have her usual ponytail. It was the first time I'd ever seen her with her hair down. Perhaps noticing my gaze on her hair, Tachibana rushed her words, as if trying to change the subject. Nope, not at all. Tachibana laughed. What, is she embarrassed, I guess, about seeing her hair being seen like this? I heard there are a lot of shrines. I've been to the lake once, with Amane-san. She hummed softly in acknowledgement. What, are you being competitive? So you're trying to get me to places where I haven't been with Sari? Tachibana started walking and I followed after her. A trace of awkwardness still showed in her right foot as she walked. How's your foot? But yeah, I most likely will be finishing up this game, both this route and also the other route if I laughed. Well, I'd rather you didn't today. Well, we'll see though. If Sari's route adds a different like chapter, I might probably save it for next week. I see. For a while, I walked behind her. But yeah, I think I'm probably done with Shrift. I said that Shrift, I was doing the DLC for Shrift, but it turns out it was actually main story plus what I was doing, those EX routes. The DLC is a different thing. You look cool out there, I said as she walked ahead of me.
何が?
She turned around.
ああ、試合?
I nodded. Tachibana gave a bashful smile.
まあ、私にはあれしかないから。
That last move was something. A high kick on an injured foot.
蹴る前からジンジンしてたけどね。
We stopped side by side at the light. No cars passed by at all. We had only the wind and the murmur of a river in the distance. We simply waited for the light to change.
私もいろいろかけてたからさ。その話もちゃんとするよ。
If this was Jakarta, if there's no cars, you just like run past. When the light turned green, we started walking away from the station toward the forest.
懐かしいな。
Tachibana murmured as she looked around. So locals don't come here much?
来ない来ない。しかも私の場合、楽器中は神奈川のおばさんの家にいるし。
Alright. Maybe that was just what it was like being on a sports scholarship. I met your mom on the day of the match.
聞いた。嬉しそうだったよ、お母さん。
I mean, you won. Is she happy because she met me, or is she happy because you won the competition? We wove our way between the houses, climbing a gentle slope. Maybe this used to be a village that thrived at the base of the mountain. With no clear boundary from the station, we found ourselves walking through the forest before I knew it.
ああ、この階段あったわ。
I mean, why wouldn't it be here? Are you saying that they would have like an elevator to a fucking shrine? You're crazy. Tachibana said as she looked up at the steep stone steps stretching into the distance. Both sides were packed with tall trees, making it look like a tunnel. She dashed up the steps and turned back to look at me.
ちょっと遠回りだけど。
Her voice overlapped with that of a child. Maybe this isn't the way to the shrine? It was Tachibana's voice. Or rather, her younger self's. Or so I thought. It was a boy's voice, still high and unbroken, that had overlapped with hers. This is gonna be the typical, like, you know, when you're a kid, we thought this was a boy, but turns out she's a guy. Or sorry, she's a girl. Like us now, the owner of that voice was up ahead in the steps, looking back at someone. Yes, that was what the girl said, there at the foot of the stairway. And looking down at her was a boy. And higher still, on the next step above, stood another girl.
置いてっちゃうよ。待ってよ。
The girl at the very bottom looked ready to cry as she gazed up at the long flight of stairs. Right. Back when we were kids, these steps felt endless.
待ってよ。
That desperate look on the little girl's face. It overlapped with Tachibana's smile as she gazed down at me.
置いてっちゃうよ。
She said, hands on her hips.
何か思い出した？
There were two girls. And between them, one boy. Tachibana nodded vaguely. That girl who was falling behind, she looked like she was about to cry in. That sense of deja vu I've had ever since coming to Nagano. Day by day, it only grew stronger, as if trying to take shape into something. What had I called those two girls? If they were Tachibana and Amani-san, then... It was... Eri-chan. Eri-chan and Sari. That's right. That was what I used to call them.
そう。私だけエリちゃんだった。サリはサリなのに、私はエリちゃん。でも今は。
Tachibana came back down the steps toward me. a smile on her face.
私が立花で、サリが天音さん。
Tachibana, I...
迎えに行けばいいんだよ。アルトの記憶もさ。
With that, she took my hand and gently squeezed it.
いいか？置いてっちゃうぞ。
Still holding my hand, she started up the steps. From then on, everything along the path looked familiar. Now and then, images rose in my mind, so vivid they surprised me. At times, it felt so real that it was, I think that should be, instead of a comma there, it should be a dash. Felt so real that it was as if my very sight had been hijacked. And in those visions, the one pouting and whining wait for me was always Eri-chan, Tachibana. Each time I picked up another fragment of my memory from that deja vu, I shared it with her. We approached the torii gate with leisurely steps. Before passing through, she stopped and turned back to me. A playful smile lit up Tachibana's face.
変なおじさんにさ、参拝の作法を怒られたの、覚えてる？
The heck is a proper shrine etiquette? Of course. I chuckled as I answered. Back then, when we were kids, we ran through the torii gate. A tiny old man stopped us. He was probably a tourist. In a gentle voice, he called out, "Hey now, you kids," and scolded us. Bowing, who passed through and keep to the left. Why the fuck would a tourist say that? That's so weird. I mean, did it say tourist or foreigner? No, it said tourist. Why would a tourist say that? If it was just a foreigner that's lived here in Japan, then I can understand that they might understand the culture for shrines or whatever, but if it's a tourist, then their knowledge is probably just from videos and shit. Which might not even be true. I murmured and Tachibana nodded.
あのおじさん、何だったんだろうね。神様？
The fuck? It's a tourist! Nah, probably just a devout tourist.
そうだろうけどさ、おじさんに化けた神様だったかもしれないじゃん。ほら、お辞儀。
You're crazy, girl, but I guess you're just making small talk. Is it okay even when we're holding hands? I lifted my left hand slightly. Her right hand was resting on it.
今日はいいの。
Together, we bowed and passed through the torii gate. As I spent the day with Tachibana, I recalled fragments of my past, piece by piece. Eri-chan and Sari, and a boy who was always between them. 3 children. No. Those fragments were scenes from my perspective. In my field of vision, there were 3. Which meant that, including me, there had been 4 childhood friends. Yeah, that's true. Seeing the CG with another boy is pretty strange, I suppose, because you're looking at yourself in third perspective. If it was yourself. As I drifted between the memories surfacing in my mind and the present, my thoughts wandered absently to Amane-san.
ね
A voice slid into my consciousness, pulling me out of my reverie. Tachibana was staring at me intently, a faint smile on her lips. A smile that felt somehow lonely.
え、もう一個だけわがまま言っていい？
I gave a little chuckle then nodded. Well, I'm already here. I'll listen to as many as you want. Still wearing that same smile, she shook her head.
最後の一個は多分聞いてくれないよ。
As I was turning over her words in my mind, she pulled my hand again.
原付駅に置いてるんでしょ？もう少しだけ足伸ばしてもいい？これが最後の目的地。
I nodded. I didn't need to ask. I already knew where she meant. After all, there weren't many options around here. Even less so when it comes to places where local kids could hang out. I guess we're going to the lake again? We retraced our way back toward the station, then passed under the tracks. We walked in step with the setting sun. In step. I wonder if that's an actual thing, in step. Before long, my eyes fell into calm waters, bathed in the glow of the evening sun. The lake was shimmering in crimson, as if waiting for us. Tachibana stepped down onto the gravel path along the lakeshore. It was unlike the sea nor the riverbank. The waves, more silent than the seas, simply swayed back and forth.
どれくらい思い出した？
Tachibana asked as she gazed out over the water. I turned my eyes to her profile. She has a weird look from this angle. I feel like her nose is way... You know, the nose is way bigger than you think in this angle compared to when you see her front and center. An orange glow traced the contours of her fair skin. I lightly shook my head in response. I remembered you and Amane-san, or rather, Eri-chan and Sari. Scenes of us playing together kept flashing through my mind. The most important parts, though, are still missing. Why didn't those happy days last? Why did I leave this place, and why did I forget it all until today?
サリがどうして怒ったか、アルトにも分かったでしょ？
Because you weren't helping me try to remember, even though you were with me throughout most of high school? She turned her gaze on me with a wry smile.
私がアルトの状況を知ってて、何もしなかったから、サリは怒ったんだよ。
That's unreasonable. I returned her wry smile. It's my fault for not remembering anything. You did nothing wrong, Tachibana.
それが、そうでもないんだよ。私が弱かったせいだもん。
I furrowed my brows. What do you mean? She didn't answer, simply gazing at the water's still surface.
いろんな意味で弱かったから。でも、
She broke off, then turned her eyes back to me.
強くなったでしょ？私。
Physically, sure. Her expression radiated the confidence backed by the results she'd achieved yesterday. I nodded in response. You're number one in Japan. There's no way you could be weak.
それは結果論だし、勝つしかなかったんだよ。この時間が欲しかったから。
Number one for your age, anyway. Was this really good enough for you?
こんなの？
The promise was that I'd do whatever you asked. But in the end, it was the other way around. You were the one showing me around your hometown.
いらないでしょ、案内なんて。アルトの地元でもあるんだから。
I laughed and shook my head. It's okay now. You can call me like you used to. You remember, right? My nickname when I just moved here from the city. Tachibana drew a quiet breath, then smiled faintly.
そっか。そこまで思い出せたんだ。向き合えたんだね、アルトは。やっぱりすごいな、サリは。止まってた時間、動かしちゃうんだもん。
I mean, what even happened? I still don't know what the hell happened on my past. In my past.
しかもアルトだけじゃなくて、なのさ。
You too, I'm guessing. Tachibana smiled though her gaze wavered. Tears spilled from her glistening eyes.
でも、私はアルトって呼ぶよ。だって私、ちゃんと好きになったんだもん。
I guess you didn't used to like the old me? Or I guess you're indifferent towards the old me?
あの非常階段で、私はアルトを好きになったんだよ。
She was smiling, even as tears stumbled from her eyes. Thank you. I loved you too, Tachibana. Loved, huh? Tachibana smiled faintly, then lowered her head.
もう過去形なんだ。なんでよ。私、勝ったのに。
Because I guess the past is more important. For Aruto. With those words, Tachibana kept her head down for a while. Her tears seeped into the muddy edge of the lake. When she finally looked up, a firm smile was on her face. Her eyes were red, but she was smiling.
サリは今、止まってたみんなの時間を進めようとしてる。だから、私も勇気出すよ。
We looked straight at each other.
のことが好きだった。
Always or... Come
こ
on.
の場所で一緒に過ごした子供の時も、それから高校で再会してからも、やっぱり私はあなたのことを好きになった。
She spoke with a gentle smile.
アルトは私のことを覚えてなかったけど、でもやっぱり好きになった。きっと何回やり直しても好きになるんだと思う。
I don't know about that. Thank you. That makes me really happy. Without your memories, I don't think you would have liked me at all, maybe. I told her exactly what I felt.
でも今日のアルトは私じゃない誰かのことを考えてた。そうでしょ？
Well, yeah, probably. Aruto is. I mean, I'm just thinking about what the hell happened to my past. I don't care about you girls. She was right. Even while I was with Tachibana, and though it had been such a joyful time, my thoughts always went back to Amani-san. I nodded before speaking. For me, it was Amani-san. I didn't remember her, but I still fell for her again. This time as Aruto. Tachibana let out a wry laugh.
はあ、結局二人の世界には入れないか。せっかく日本一になったのにな。
Now don't worry. I saw that there was a Tachibana route, Eri. Tachibana rubbed her eyes and turned her tear-streaked face toward me.
でもすっごいすっきりした。やっと嫌いな自分と別れられそう。ありがとうね、アルト。
I didn't do anything. You know that.
サリだよね。
I nodded. I'm planning to talk with Amani-san after this. I want you to wait for me, Tachibana.
待つ？何を？
I want to thank Amani-san too. I'll need your help. Yours, and of course... Before I could finish, Tachibana laughed.
わかった。呼んどく。あいつもまだこっちにいるから。地元だからね。
So who is this, like, fourth guy? And why didn't he get into the action? Why didn't he get anything? Why are we getting all the girls instead of this fourth guy? It could have been one-on-one. It could have been a perfect pairing. And yet you girls fell for the same guy? Come on. By the time I parted ways with Tachibana, the edge of the sky had turned deep blue. No? This isn't deep blue. The fuck are you talking about? This orange sunset. What? Is that a typo? Is that a massive typo? It looked a lot like the sky I saw when I first came here. I started up the scooter I parked and put on my helmet. On the dim asphalt, my headlight cast a triangular glow. I rode alone down the same road I'd once traveled with Amani-san, heading for the launch. I parked the Cub in the now deserted lot. When I cut the engine, silence fell. I already knew what I had to do tonight. I sent a message to Amani-san to call her into the multi-purpose hall deep in the woods, where a full concert grand piano sat so out of place.
おかえり。
Amani-san showed up at the entrance of the multi-purpose hall right away, unlocking the door with a key she'd brought from the admin building. She ushered me inside, almost like a doorman. I took the lead, walking through the tall, narrow hall lit only by moonlight. I heard the door quietly close behind me. No, there are lights on the wall. Come on, Aruto. Sure, it's more dramatic to say that it's just the moonlight here, but come on, look at the background. There's lights on the wall. I walked up to the foot of the stage and looked back at Amani-san. She was still by the doorway, looking at me from afar. Mind if I give it a try? Hearing that, Amani-san's eyes widened for just an instant. She quickly returned to her usual expression, her gaze fixed on me. I met her gaze head on, staring back into her eyes. Just like that night she performed, our surroundings were bathed in pale blue light. Amane-san walked slowly toward me. She stopped in front of me for a moment, then stepped up onto the stage. She lifted the fallboard, removed the felt key cover, and rolled it up between her hands. She stepped back and looked at me. I followed her onto the stage and stood before the piano keys. 88 keys lay before me. I reached out and touched one of the white keys, then tried pressing it down. I could feel the hammer strike the strings, the vibration resonating through me. But my world remained silent.
聞こえるようになったの。
I shook my head in response. Not yet.
まだ。
Right. Not yet. But I will take back that sound along with my memories. That's why I called Amane-san here. I turned back to her. I met with Tachibana earlier. Walking around town made me remember things about Eri-chan and Sari. Only in fragments though.
そう。
Tokyo and I used to race a lot, in that town with all the temples. This time, I struck a black key. Again, no sound came.
兄ちゃん、どうしたの？僕が弾こうか？
Is he talking about the town that was, I think it was called Kamakura, right? Or Nagano? No, this is Nagano. I think it's Kamakura. The place where we're currently living at. Tokyo said, peering at my hands. I shook my head and raised a finger to my lips. Tokyo immediately understood and clamped his mouth shut, nodding. Tokyo and I used to play a lot at Yuigahama Beach too, with Enoshima in the distance. We played there all the time. On that shore I mistook for the lake.
時代くんがそこにいるの。
It was Amane-san's voice. I looked down at Tokyo beside me. Is Tokyo dead? Am I just seeing Tokyo in my mind? And then is my mom like feeding into my delusions? Is that what's going on? He gazed up at me with a troubled expression. Yeah, looks like he is. But I have to say goodbye to him now, so I can finally move forward. Amane-san, sorry. You knew that, didn't you? That's why you brought me here. I struck the key several times, but as always, I couldn't hear a thing. Anxiousness crept back into Tokyo's face. Will you play the piano again for me, Sari?
でも聞こえないんでしょ？
It was right here, this spot. I turned back to the piano and set both hands on the keys. From the performer's point of view, a child's hands are there. Hands that lose sight of the keys they're meant to strike. And before long, they're stained red. Amane-san stayed silent, waiting for me to go on. I kept my eyes down as I continued. That memory is tied to a fear buried deep in my heart, and my body rejects it. But if I don't overcome that fear, I can't move forward. I turned my eyes to Tokyo, standing beside the piano. I saw Tokyo, just as I'd seen him in the photograph yesterday. The owner showed me some old photos. The four of us looked so happy. I locked them away. The me of those days, who could still play the piano. I sealed them in the past. That's why I can't hear the piano anymore. Because back then, the piano was everything to me. I walked toward Amane-san. In her right hand, she held the red key cover. Yeah, is Tokyo like a part of my imagination? Am I like Shizo after the trauma? While her left stayed tucked in her pocket. I laid my right hand gently on her left arm. A trace of bewilderment crossed her face, but she didn't pull away. Letting me lead her, she revealed her left hand. It was faintly warm to touch. My fingers brushed the scar near her wrist, on the side of her ring and pinky finger. Kanagawa in Tokyo, shrines and temples, the big lake and the sea. To a kid, they're pretty much the same. Hearing that, Amane-san let out a sigh of breath and smiled.
腕前は期待しないでね。
She sat down at the keyboard. The performance began. I stopped resisting the movement of my fingers. As I let all 10 move freely, fragments of memory surfaced, and little by little they began to connect. The fuck do you mean, final chapter? That was like a 30-minute read. I'm finishing this now.
都会から来たなら、時よな。
What the fuck? That's Angie? Angie never said anything about being our friend before. The fuck? This is so random. It was Angie who first called me that. I was 8 that summer. All 4 of us were in the 3rd grade.
なんだよ時よって。僕はアルトだよ。東京から来たから時よだよ。
Hey, I'm actually voiced as a kid. At Angie's words, the 2 girls nodded, clearly impressed. The hell, Tachibana is that much taller than everyone, or is this just a perspective kind of thing?
僕神奈川から来たんだよ。それ都会だろ。
Angie shouted.
まあ、ここよりは。ここより都会は全部東京なの。だから時よなの。俺はアンジーな。アンジー？アンジーと時よ。2人とも外人みたいでかっこいいだろ。
I thought for a moment before responding.
かっこいいかも。
The 2 girls' names, Sari and Eri, sounded kind of foreign too.
うん、かっこいいかも。アンジー、時よ。俺たち空手習ってるんだよ。な、エリ。
Eri-chan was shy when I first met her. She only nodded at Angie's words.
でもエリは始めたばっかだからまだ弱いんだよな。
Eri-chan let out a slightly awkward giggle.
エリちゃん、よろしく。エリちゃんも時よって呼んでいいから。
I said, meeting her shy smile. That summer, I was studying the piano under Imani-sensei as always. At his house, I was to finish preparing my performance and play a duet with Sari at the recital. Yeah, there's no way there's actually a Tokyo in my house, I think. Am I just going crazy for that long? Like, it's been years since I've gone crazy, like trying to get money for Tokyo, even though that's actually money. I guess my mom saved the money or something, I don't know. An old music room. In the corner, a worn-out upright piano. The place where Sari and I spent most of our days. Its frame was worn with age, but its pitch held steady. Thanks to a skilled tuner, the piano was kept in top condition.
Sari, 解釈が一辺倒で面白くない。自分の音になってないし、作曲者の意図を汲み取ろうとする姿勢も感じられない。一つずつ分解して考えてみよう。ピアニッシモと書かれているから小さく弱く弾く。それじゃダメだ。曲全体の色の濃淡を作るんだ。
His guidance sank in well with Sari. I mean, I kind of understand that. I used to be in a choir, so what he said is, it's very logical to me. Meanwhile, I got bored and simply swung my legs as I waited. But yeah, singing sometimes also needs interpretation. You kind of need to know the feelings that, the people who made the lyrics are thinking when they made them. And then you can sing them with the emotion that they felt, right? Watching her serious expression, I would now and then play my part along with her performance. But at that time, it only ended up cornering her. Her anxiety was seeping into me. Our tempo faltered, the melody tumbling from our fingers and dissolving into formlessness.
Stop.
Amani-sensei let out a small sigh, then began instructing Sari. I swung my legs idly again, waiting for the time to pass. Sari's legs stayed still, dangling in the air. The Amane family's land was deep in the forest. In a small gym, children's karate and ballet classes were held on alternating days, while the nameless building next to it was used for piano, violin, and calligraphy lessons. Parents who drove their children there had come to call it the Forest Community Center. What is this, Stardew Valley? That day, Angie was absent from karate class, and Eri-chan wasn't around after practice either. Dad was at the Gabble dining hall, drinking with Sari's grandmother. Bored, I wandered alone through the back roads. There was a spot where you could look out over the Forest Community Center. A wooden bench sat facing the view. Eri-chan was sitting on it, still in her gi.
あれエリちゃん何してるの
I called out while swinging a tree branch around, and she turned to look at me. Her eyes were red and bloodshot.
どうしたの
なんでもないよ。
After saying that, she turned her face away from me.
なんでもなくないよ
I sat down beside her and leaned in, trying to see the face she was hiding.
やめてよ、時代くん。見ないでよ、こんな顔。
だって今の顔の方がいいもん
そんなわけないよ。
Yeah, how? She's probably like, her eyes are probably red.
エリちゃんの顔今は本当だもん
It's your real face? The fuck does that mean? You're a kid, Tokyo, the fuck? Eri-chan slowly turned her face toward me.
どういうこと
Yeah, what the fuck does that even
エリ
mean?
ちゃんなんでいつもちょっと嘘の顔するの
嘘の顔
I nodded. Oh, when she's with us, she has a mask on? Eri-chan tilted her head.
嘘の顔って何
You're hiding your
ア
emotions,
ン
I'm
ジーが
guessing?
さこの前エリちゃんのこと弱いって言ったじゃんかエリちゃん笑ってたじゃんか悔しそうに
Eri-chan stared at me in blank surprise.
悔しそうだった
悔しそうだったよだから嘘の顔だよもっと似合う表情がエリちゃんにはあるよ
And her crying is better than that?
私に似合う表情どんなの
I thought for a moment before answering.
本当の表情が似合うよエリちゃんそういう子だもん
人の表情
Yeah, I don't think that's something that we can just say to her face. We're straight up lying because we don't even know her that well. She murmured, then gazed at me. This is probably just our preferences. I felt embarrassed being stared at, so I answered a bit bluntly.
悲しい時に泣いてる方がマシだよ
Eri-chan's eyes went wide. Then she burst out laughing.
分かったムカつくときはムカつくって言ってみる
それがいいよ
Being honest with
暗くな
yourself,
ると
huh?
怒られるからさ帰ろう
I held out my hand, and Eri-chan took it. We walked back hand in hand, taking the road opposite the one we came by, toward the gabbled building where the adults were. At the entrance, we ran into Sari and Amane-sensei. Before I could call out, Sari noticed us. I still remember how her expression froze, as if it had turned to stone. I called out to Sari. Her face returned to its usual smile, but this time it felt like a little lie had mixed into it.
サリー帰るの
Wow, we must be pretty perceptive as a kid.
時代くんごめん私足引っ張って
I just realized she has like long hair, by the way. Amane-sensei said, looking puzzled. Yeah, I'm supposedly Aruto, not Tokyo. She quickly covered her mouth with her hand. When we were practicing, Sari addressed her father as sensei and called me by my given name Aruto. At the piano, Sari always tried to do everything properly. And I knew how she felt, because I was the same.
都会から来たから遊ぶ時は時代なんです
Hearing that, Amane-sensei laughed.
すごいな。空を飛べそうじゃないか。
I feel like Sari's dad here is also voiced by the owner. The sound is very similar. The three of us, Sari, Eri-chan, and I, just glanced at one another. We had no idea what Amane-sensei meant. Must be some sort of gag or something. I mean, even I don't understand what he was trying to say. We all stepped into the gabled building. I found Dad in the dining hall drinking, his face red. It was a sight I'd seen many times before. Eri-chan's mother seemed to have been looking for her, and when she did, she took her straight home. It was always Sari and me who stayed behind until the very end. That day, Dad was already drunk. His words thicker and heavier than usual.
今の音楽界にないものはな、サロン文化だよ。互いに顔を見渡せる小部屋にこれでもかってほどいい音のピアノを置いてたな。秘密結社みたいに音楽を楽しむんだよ。そういういかがわしさってのが今の音楽界にはなくてつまんね
The fuck are you talking about?
あんたね、ピアノの腕は確かだけどね、そんなに飲んでたら天下取る前に死ぬよ。
The one who shot him down was Sari's grandmother.
え。お、また予言か、バース。
ああ、そうだ。私にははっきり見えるね。あんた、このままだと酒に飲まれて死ぬ。今すぐやめちまわないと取り返しがつかなくなるよ。
なんだよ、つまんねえ予言だ。医者も同じこと言うぜ。もっと音楽の予言を聞かせてくれよ。いつもの審美眼だよ。
Dad's bleary eyes turned toward me.
ほら、どうよこいつは。アルト、息子だ。天才だよ。耳は俺以上だ。こいつはあんたの未来の記憶の中にいるかよ。
Sari's grandmother looked back at me, then at Sari and gave a gentle smile.
どれ、見てみようか。おいで。
Responding to her gesture, Sari and I stepped up in front of her.
おばあちゃん、未来の記憶って何？
おばあちゃんにはね、いい音楽家になる人を見抜く未来の記憶があるの。その記憶にある人はみんな必ずすごい音楽家になるんだよ。
I mean, I don't believe in this mumbo jumbo, but sure. Some people do.
サリのお父さんもそうなんだから。
And I'm not gonna disrespect them just because they believe in this.
すごい。
Sari and I exclaimed in unison.
よし、二人ちょっとピアノ弾いてごらん。
Grandma led us over to the upright piano. Sensei and Dad came along too, drink still in his hand. Sari and I exchanged a glance and then began playing the duet we'd been practicing. Her performance was free and expressive. The melody stayed steady under our fingers, sounding exactly the way we wanted. We finished playing and turned to her. Grandma, eyes still closed, smiled as she spoke.
二人ともいい音楽家になる。間違いない。私に見えた未来の記憶を信じて練習すれば必ずいい音楽家になれる。
Yeah, I feel like you're kind of bullshitting me, but as long as I believe in it, then whatever. By the time of our next practice, the upright piano we used had been moved into the dining hall, and the old music room was closed off to us. Sari came to practice brimming with excitement.
あそこにコンサートホール作ってね、グランドピアノも買うんだって。え、すごい。
And there, the chain of memories cut off. Sari's hands had stopped playing. Our gaze shifted from the keys to what lay behind me. When I turned around, I saw two silhouettes. Eri-chan and Angie. Tachibana and Angie stepped inside, their figures still bearing the traces of how I remembered them. Angie stretched his head awkwardly.
そのどこまで種明かしが済んだんだ。
まだ何も。
Sari answered with a faint smile.
今、 アルト君が昔のことを思い出してるところ。
サリのピアノで
I guess. Tachibana said, sitting down in the front row of the audience seats.
アルト、ごめん。俺たちさ。
Angie walked slowly as he spoke. No, it's fine. I'm the one who should apologize. It looks like I caused everyone a lot of trouble by running away all this time.
んなことねえよ。
Why hide the fact though from me? Like, how big is this trauma thing? What happened to me? That you guys really needed to hide the fact of what happened?
私が弱かったせい。
みんな弱かったんだよ。子供だもん。だから今日みんなで強くなろう。そのために2人も来てくれたんでしょ。
私、日本一になったんだけどな。
Tachibana said with a sigh.
まだ足りないか。
アルト君。
Sari turned back to the piano keys. Not gonna call her Amane-san anymore, I say?
ここからがアルト君が一番思い出したくないことだよ。きっとここから逃げるためにアルト君は時雄君っていう分身を作り出したんだと思う。
So all this time my mom has been letting me go crazy, huh? Even she didn't tell me anything. Or maybe at the beginning she did, but as time goes on, we just become crazier and crazier, and she probably let us be.
本当に続けていい？
I searched for the figure of my little brother, the boy only I could see. Tokyo was sitting at the end of the row, swinging his legs. Our eyes met. As I began to nod, Tokyo and the younger me gave a small nod back. It's okay. Go on, Sari. Tachibana, Angie, if there is anything different from how you remember it, let me know. Tachibana and Angie sitting in the audience both nodded. Yeah, I'm actually calling her Sari now, not Amane-san no more. Sari closed their eyes, took a deep breath and began to play. As the demolition work went on that summer, the place became more and more of an irresistible playground for us. The collapsed floors and walls had just the right amount of mess and mystery to be our perfect hideout. Our duet was starting to take shape, and Sari was getting praised more often. Whenever Amane-sensei was in high spirits and ended practice earlier, Sari and I would hide in the half-demolished building to wait for a karate class to finish.
ねえ、時雄君ってさ、ピアノ好き？
なんで？
Sari simply shook her head, her expression unreadable.
好きだよ。楽しいもん。
I looked at Sari's face for a while before answering.
そうだろうな。
She said, smiling.
時雄君くらい上手だったら楽しいんだろうな。
なんでよ。サリも上手だよ。ピアノ。
でも楽しくないんだ。ピアノ弾いてない時の方が楽しい。私絶対時雄君より上手くなれないもん。いくら練習しても。
Do you need to be better than me to have fun? I don't think so.
でも、おばあちゃんは未来の記憶あるって言ってたよ。すごい音楽家になるって。
本当かな？
おばあちゃんの言うことは必ず当たるってお父さんも言ってたよ。
じゃあ私たち2人ともすごい音楽家になれるかな？
そうだよ。
Sorry about that. Right click is so easy to, like, click with my twitchy fingers.
大人になっても時雄君一緒にピアノ弾いてくれる？
Sari had been smiling, but her expression suddenly turned serious.
弾くよ。当たり前だよ。
I answered, nodding. Sari smiled. It was the first real smile I'd seen from Sari in a long time. So what, throughout all of those times that we've been with her, she's been faking a lot of things? That's pretty sad. The green of the forest was beginning to fade, and the end of summer was drawing near. The demolition work had progressed still, to the point where going near the music room would make the adults really angry. With our thrilling playground gone, we started spending our free days in town instead. 4 shrines in a big lake. A massive playground we could never finish exploring in a single summer. That day, we ran up a stone stairway. Sunlight streaming through through the trees. I don't know why he said net though. I was in the lead with Sari right behind me. Angie followed after her with Eri-chan at the rear. Oh, this is that memory we saw. Lagging behind, Eri-chan called out, her voice strained. I, who was in the lead, stopped. Angie was out of breath too. He said, still catching his breath. I asked, looking down past Sari at the two of them. Eri-chan answered from the lowest step. I feel like Tachibana's VA did a better job trying to do like this little girl voice than Sari's, personally. But Angie also did a very good job if this is the same voice actor. We started climbing the steps again. Hearing Angie's voice from behind, I stopped and turned around. Eri-chan was standing where she had stopped earlier, her eyes cast down. How old are these people? God damn. Eri-chan looked up at me while I looked down at her from the top. Between us were Angie and Sari, quietly watching our expressions. I met Eri-chan's gaze and nodded. Eri-chan dashed past Angie and Sari, racing up the stairs. Eri-chan was beaming. Without thinking, I pointed at her face. What, a smile? Eri-chan kept that smile as she gave a firm nod. I mean, I do think people who are smiling do look a lot more attractive, rather than being sullen and gloomy, right? On the day of the tournament, Sari and I went together to cheer her on. Hey, you can't use this, well, I don't know. Maybe it was already built during this time. But I remember that when we actually went to this gymnasium or whatever this is called, it said that the place was recently built. But I guess maybe 10 years ago is still recent for something like this. Angie won first place in the boys division, while Eri-chan lost. Sari and I didn't really get the rules, but the match ended before Eri-chan could do much. That night, we went to the Forest Community Center by car. We gathered in the Gabble dining hall, where the adults all comforted Eri-chan. Even Angie paid more attention to her than his own victory. Eri-chan kept on smiling. But it was the same fake smiles as the day we first met. The one that didn't suit her at all. Before long, the adults had formed their own circle, and the 4 of us wandered aimlessly through the evening forest. What, you want to win all of your matches? Unless you're a prodigy, I don't think that's feasible. Eri-chan muttered, eyes on the floor. Well, did you train that much? If you did and you still failed, that means you didn't train enough. It's as simple as that, Eri. Her eyes red and wet with tears. Eri-chan ran back into the Gabble building. Watching her return to the adults, we shuffled once more along the path behind the grounds. Angie went back to the Gabble building too. Sari and I sat on the bench along the path, looking down over the grounds. We saw Angie enter the gabled building, only to step out again right away.
トキオサリーいる
Where the hell are you, like, screaming from? It's pretty echoey. I called back. Our voices echoed through the forest.
エリがいないって
Sari and I looked at each other.
そこから見えなかった
Angie shouted again.
見てないよ探してみるわかったここから見てる
Poor Angie, man. I feel like even as a kid, he already liked Eri there, or Tachibana. And yet, all these girls could take a look at is just Tokyo, aka Aruto. Sari and I sit from the bench, looking out over the whole grounds, while Angie checked each building one by one. We kept watch in case Eri-chan appeared. The grounds weren't that big. Even a child could easily search the entire area.
いた
Angie shouted as he came out of the last log cabin.
いない
Angie hesitated for a bit, then headed towards that old, half-demolished music room.
大丈夫かなあそこ入って
She asked anxiously.
でももうあそこしかないよ危ないから入っちゃダメって何回も怒られたよ
I mean, if she's already there, then, you know, she already broke the rules.
でも
Just then, I saw something move beyond the collapsed ceiling of the music room.
今何か動いたよ
I leaned forward.
こんなに暗いのに見えたのうん絶対見えた
After a while, Angie came back out from the entrance.
アンジーエリちゃんいただろ
He didn't respond.
アンジー
I couldn't see his expression. Angie gave us a quick glance, then bolted toward the gabled hall.
どうしたんだろう
She asked, sounding uneasy.
行ってみよう
I don't know. Something bloody must have happened, I guess. But what's the correlation between this and me liking music? We went over to the entrance of the half-demolished music room. When I tried to step inside, Sari grabbed my sleeve.
サリどうしたの入っちゃダメだってお父さんに言われたんだよ大人呼んでこようよ
You know, Sari makes a good point. I thought about it for a moment, then shook my head. Just earlier, Eri-chan was upset at being comforted by the adults. If we brought them here, Eri-chan would just end up faking a smile again.
僕が行くよ危ないよ怪我したらリサイタルダメになっちゃうでも行くよエリちゃんかわいそうだもんほっとこうよそのうち出てくるよ
She said without meeting my eyes.
サリが怖いなら僕一人で行ってくるよ
Is that jealousy talking? God, how old are these kids? Jesus. Sari looked at me anxiously, then lowered her eyes.
時雄くんが行くなら私も行く
I took Sari's hand as she kept her eyes lowered. Together, we stepped into the cluttered ruin. It was the place where we always practiced. A place I thought I knew so well. And yet now, in its half-ruined in-between state, the building felt dark and alien. The walls gaped with split timbers, and the windows were shattered. It was as if I'd been swallowed by some wild animal. I felt the fear rising inside me. In the end, we couldn't go all the way in. And we didn't find anyone.
本当にいたのになやっぱり大人呼んでこよう
Why did Angie, like, go out? When I turned around, Sari was suddenly gone from the dim room. She tripped on a fallen beam and lost her balance, catching herself with her hands.
暑い
Hope you didn't land on those glass shards, too. I can't believe this is what happened to the demolished buildings. Those glasses should not be there. Holy shit, this place is dangerous. Her voice came from down by the floor.
サリ
I took her hand and helped her to her feet.
大丈夫
Almost at the same time, we realized something was wrong. Her hand was warm, unnaturally warm. Oh, it got hit by the glass thing. Or it didn't get hit, but it probably punctured her, stabbed her hand. Just the slightest pressure for me made her cry out in pain. Something slick and unfamiliar clung to her hands. We looked down to see 4 hands, all smeared with blood. Blood was flowing non-stop from Sari's left hand.
時代くん痛い
What, that?
痛いよ
There's no way it did that much blood. And that was what Tokyo told me. In a place filled with piano music I alone couldn't hear. He spoke of the past to me, in a voice only I could hear. I related to everyone almost exactly as he had told me. Sari stopped playing. Tokyo's memories, everything that I had pushed onto him, came seeping into me, returning as my own. When I took her hand, I felt a strange warmth and slickness, the sensation clinging to me even after I let go. 4 arms, 2 pairs of hands. 2 pairs of hands? I guess that's right. Blood overflowing. It was the sight that the piano brought back to me.
思い出した
She turned a lonely smile toward me. I nodded slightly. Sorry, I... Looking back, I must have been in a state of panic then. Not knowing what to do, I could only shrink back at the sight of all that red. Sari was afraid too, and that was only natural. She was the one getting the full brunt of it. You'd think that someone actually died during this whole process. But I guess, I don't know, maybe kids are... I don't know, man. When I was a kid, I guess I was just weird. The next thing I remembered, Sari was surrounded by the adults. One towel after another grew soaked in blood. There, in the middle of it all, Sari wept. Whether from sorrow or from pain, I could no longer tell. The one giving first aid was Mom, since she was a nurse. I was completely left out. Nothing more than a bystander. No one had the luxury of caring that I was even there, let alone scolding me. After all, the girl who sang blood at that moment was an inspiring pianist. For several days, I was told nothing of Sari's condition. My memories of that time are blank. I suppose I must have done nothing. The unchanging days simply drifted by, until Sari's father came to see me. Even then, he carried himself as a professional instructor.
サリはこの先ピアノの道を生きることはなくなった。アルト君、君はどうする？
He handed me a sheet of music. It was probably the duet I had practiced with Sari, rearranged for a solo performance. And even then, I still couldn't bring myself to decide on my own. I glanced at the faces of Mom and Dad, who were there with me. Were they expecting me to play the piano? Or would it have been better if I were too depressed to play? How was I supposed to reclaim the place where I belonged? I had no idea. I mean, yeah, this probably would eat at you because you were the one that made, Sari go inside, technically speaking. Even though, we didn't really force her. In the end, I ended up playing. Only the piano could save a pianist. That was the conclusion my father and my teacher had both reached. It seemed my father, in his own way, had been worried about the hollow shell I'd been these past few days. In Dad's way of life, only the piano could fill the emptiness within. That was why he became a performer. But I was different. There had always been something else in my playing. And that something, which once filled my heart whenever I faced the keys, was now undeniably gone. I always had a good ear. Sari's father called it a gift, yeah, perfect pitch, and even my own father, who was boastful and never praised anyone, admitted defeat. Seeing my ear surpassed his. All that remained to me was physical ability. The richness, the joy I once felt in bathing in the piano's sound had all but dried up. And now at last, I understood why I had become so empty. I wanted to see Sari. I liked sitting beside her, playing with a touch of pride. Her look of surprise with a little jealousy mixed in. I think I secretly treasured that. It was hardly an admirable motive for a musician. I agree. That's actually a very shallow motive, actually. After I started practicing solo for the recital, I went to see Sari once. The ride there felt like forever. It was a big, beautiful hospital, and Sari was in one of its rooms. If we really did like Sari, I feel like Sari's anxiety would have held more depth than us suddenly just saying, you know what, fuck you, I'm still going in for Tachibana or Eri in this case. You know? The stark white bandage around her left hand stabbed at my eyes.
サリごめん
That was all I could manage to say. Sari's gaze turned to me. Only her eyes moved. I don't think her expression changed at all.
一人で弾くの時雄くん
I remember her father gently scolding her for asking that. Sari smiled a little.
サリが弾いてほしくなければ僕は弾かないよ
I declared. She smiled and shook her head.
弾いていいよでも
Oh, sorry. She then turned her face away from me. I could no longer see her expression.
私に聞こえない場所で弾いてほしい私はもう時雄くんの演奏聞きたいと思えないから
A breeze passed through the window, fluttering the white curtain. The memory was as clear as day. When she turned her face back to me, her expression was the same as before.
ごめんね
I guess when she was young, she couldn't really, handle the emotion she was feeling. That was definitely her honest feelings. I had lost my reason to play the piano. Even the fact that I had a good ear no longer meant anything. And yet, the day of the recital still came. Where was it held again? I seem to remember there being a lake nearby. It might not have been a recital so much as a small concert. Neither Sari nor her father came to watch. They had gone far away, where my performance couldn't reach them. Those were the thoughts that came to me as I remembered Sari's words. By playing the piano, I had driven Sari away from my side. Standing on stage, I couldn't bring myself to look at the audience. I lowered my gaze to the keys. Within that narrow view, my hands appeared, starting the piece I was meant to play with Sari. But the notes I should have been playing only grew more and more distant, until at last they vanished altogether. That must have been the last piano sound I ever heard. I didn't even know what I was playing anymore, and in the end, my hands came to a stop. As I turned toward the audience, they felt endlessly far away. The stage seemed to stretch on forever into deep darkness. Now it wasn't just Sari. Everyone was moving away from me. It was because I played the piano that they drifted away from me. I lowered my gaze back to the keys, staring at my own palms. And in that moment, what I saw was my hands, stained bright red with Sari's blood, and what reached my ears was my own scream. I mean, I feel like it's pretty justified that Sari said that, because we ruined her whole life. Yes, I do think so. Sure, as I said, it might not technically be us, but if we didn't go inside, Sari would never have gotten inside. One scene after another connected. Memories and emotions alike flooded in. Things I could finally put into words. That's everything I can remember right now. As for what comes after, it doesn't really feel like I've forgotten it. It's more like I never knew it in the first place. Sari nodded.
きっとそれで合ってる。私の知る限りアルト君の記憶は正確だと思う。リサイタルでアルト君は演奏の手を止めて呼吸が荒くなって最後には悲鳴を上げて倒れたって聞いてる。
You came to the recital anyway? I see. Maybe she wanted to apologize. Maybe her dad scolded her for it.
肺の空気を絞り尽くすような悲鳴だったって。
私からも言いたいことあるよ。
Tachibana said, hugging her knees.
私あの時あの廃屋にいた。アルトと時雄くんとサリが二人の時間を過ごしてた場所に隠れてたの。
I mean, why did Angie go out though after
時
that?
雄くんだけが来ればいいと思いながらサリを置いて私を迎えに来てくれればいいのにって思いながら。
The fuck? This suddenly became such a genre shift on the romance, like insane. The fuck? You were a kid. What the?
そのために先に見つけてくれたアンジーにひどいこと言って追い返してさ。
Oh, okay, that's what happened to Angie. Yo, I feel really sorry for my boy. Tachibana lifted her face, crying quietly.
全部私のせいなんだよ。試合に負けてさ。それはいいけどその結果を受け止められなくてみんなに甘えて結局3人のことめっちゃ傷つけた。
Not wrong, technically.
私のせいなんだよ。
I wouldn't say it's all your fault, though. You were the cause, true. But everyone had their own things that were happening too. She buried her face in her knees.
みんなごめんね。弱くてごめんね。
今は日本一だろ、エリ。
And she became weak again before, Sari actually came to Kamakura. Everything was just stagnant, right? While we divulge in or indulge in our delusions of Tokyo, living with our mom. He placed a hand on Tachibana's back.
遅かったよ。だってサリの手は戻らないじゃん。
それを言うならさ、
A smile formed on Sari's lips.
私だってエリの試合を見ながら心の中では負けちゃえって思ってた。時雄くんがあの廃屋に入ろうとした時は私真っ先に二人きりにしたくないと思ったし、ここでいい子のふりしたら一生後悔すると思ったんだよ。
So weird, man. Is this what child jealousy is like? Is this what romance jealousy is like in general? God. I mean, I've never been in a relationship, but these guys are crazy. The fuck? Sari slowly looked around at us and smiled.
それも私の弱さだったと思うし、私はその代償を自分で払ったんだと思ってる。何よりさ、ピアノと全身全霊で向き合わなくなってちょっと楽になったんだよね。
You're probably lying, though. Angie gave a lonely smile before speaking.
俺だってあの時時雄とサリにわざと伝えなかったんだ。あの場所でエリを見つけて。
Even if you were guilty, Angie, I think out of all of us, I guess Aruto is like the least guilty, but you're probably the second less guilty. Like, you were a kid, and if what Tachibana said is true, she probably said really hurtful stuff towards you. It's understandable that you didn't really want to do anything after that, especially if you liked her. Tachibana lifted her face and smiled through her tears. She'd been wearing that tearful smile the whole time we were reminiscing.
あの時はほんとごめん。
Angie laughed.
エリにさ、 こっぴどく振られたんだよ、俺。時代くんに見つけて欲しかった。来て欲しいのはアンジーじゃなかったって。
Yeah, I can understand you being pretty shocked there.
8歳の子供にはその全否定。きついだろ。
You guys were 8 years old and you were like thinking about that sort of jealousy? What the fuck? God, children in their well, I don't know. It might not even be children. It's just that you guys have some really weird ass feelings and emotions as a kid. The fuck? All I wanted to do was just play games as a kid.
だからごめんって。その報いは私も受けたよ。多分巡り巡って今日さ、こっぴどく振られたし。
Tachibana shot me a bitter look, then quickly returned to a smile.
ナルトくん、いや、時代くんかな。
Sari smiled at me.
まあどっちでもいいんだけどさ、私たち多分3人ともちゃんと謝りたかったんだよ。
Yeah, I think the least problematic was definitely us. And we did ruin, we were partly to blame for your hands too, though, sorry, but you guys have some twisted emotions, man. Even as a kid, the fuck?
こうやってみんなで思い出の蓋を開いて謝って楽になりたかったんだと思う。
If I was Aruto right now, I'd probably feel liberated. So this is what's been haunting me. And I probably would just not choose any of these bitches. Yeah, you heard me right. These bitches are crazy. Aruto is fine. In the end, I think this was something I needed in order to part with Tokyo and become Aruto. So you can just call me Aruto. The three of them nodded. Now that my memories were back, a lot of things finally made sense. Given what had happened in the past, Sari could have contacted Mom. And more importantly, she could have kept our connection hidden from me and gotten Angie's cooperation. Can you tell me what happened up until you came to see me? When did this summer plan begin? And how did it get started? Sari smiled faintly then nodded.
指の随意運動に障害が残るような怪我をした場合、完治の希望があるのは最初の2週間くらいだけなんだって。お父さんは手を尽くしてくれたし、世界最高の外科医の手術も受けたけど、結局この状態。
She held up her left hand. Of her 5 fingers, the ring and pinky fingers hung limp, curled inward. And after that, you came back to Japan. Sari nodded at my question.
でも、ピアノ以外の選択肢は考えたこともなかったし、日本にやりたいこともなかった。何より、この場所に留まるのは私たち家族にとってもちょっと辛いものがあって。
I mean, no doubt. They probably had expectations for you to actually become a pianist.
結局、中学に上がる前にお父さんの仕事についていった。いろいろな国を巡って最後にいたのがチェコ。
Angie folded his arms.
この計画、遡ると結構古いんだよ。最初は本当に偶然。俺がアルトと同じ中学に進んだことがきっかけだった。うちの親、転勤族なんだよ。
So this is also the reason why you guys are, friends with me, even though I'm kind of crazy. There's a reason I got no friends. I was crazy.
アルト、俺のことを覚えてなかっただろ。
I nodded. Sorry about that.
いや、いいんだよ、そんなのは。俺も多少は空気読めるようになって、初めましてからやり直したんだけどさ。仲良くなるうちに、どうやら記憶がなくて、もうピアノを弾いてないことまでは、俺がエリに連絡した。
Eri nodded.
時代が弟になってるってのもアンジーから聞いたんだよ。確か中3の時。私それでスポーツ推薦で神奈川行くことにしたんだもん。
So that's how it all connected to that conversation at the school festival. I turned towards Sari. Was it a coincidence that you came back this year?
高校生の終わりって一つの区切りって感じしない？
She smiled faintly.
ずっと何とかしたいって気持ちはあって、春頃におじいちゃんから今年の高校空手の全国大会がここであるって聞いて、もしかしたらエリとアンジーが来るかもって。私あの時エリを応援できなかったことずっと後悔してたから、やり直すならこの夏しかないかもって。
Angie raised his hand.
俺が連絡もらった。
あとはエリと同じ感じ。アルト君の状況を聞いて、これは放置しちゃいけないと思って、でもどうすればいいかわからなくて、思い浮かんだのが死んじゃったおばあちゃんのこと。
Literally fake it till you make it, I'm sorry. About the whole future memories thing.
おばあちゃんはいつも言ってた。人を夢に導くおまじないのコツは何があっても断言し続けることだって。
I don't like it when people do that. That means that they're bullshitting you. What I want is the cold hard truth. I don't want people to keep cheering me on when they don't know what the hell I'm actually going through. Remembering how Sari had stubbornly insisted she had future memories, I nodded.
でも少し知恵を絞ったよ。私にはおばあちゃんみたいに経験も年の功もないから、ここを使ったってわけ。
She tapped her temple as she spoke. A performance to get me to believe you. I remember you saying something like that. I guess the bingo thing was already predetermined because she got help with Angie.
ビンゴ大会とインターハイ前のアクシデント、一つは不発だったんだけどね。
The accident?
ビンゴ大会な。あれ結構大変だったんだよな。
I mean, I guess the accident wasn't meant to happen? I don't know. Angie said, scratching his head. Amane-san chuckled.
大したことはしてない。10個だけ玉を抜いただけ。ね、アンジ。
What do you mean?
あのビンゴカード手作りだったでしょ。会場のカードは全部その10個の数字が十字と斜めに一つずつ並んでた。何回回しても誰もビンゴにならない。当たるのは私が持ってたカードだけ。後で玉は追加したと思うけど。
ああ、追加したよ。結構立派な不正だったからヒヤヒヤした。その分景品はだいぶ貧相にしたけど。
Hey, we still ate some hot dogs, or whatever you call
美
those.
味しかったけど、あの餃子ドッグ。
Yeah, gyoza dogs. I pictured the bingo card in my mind. Sure enough, if you blocked out the 5x5 grid and cut off the diagonals, a bingo could never happen. It took 10 numbers to do that. And the other one was a dud. You mean the accident before the match? Sorry, nodded.
アンジーに怪我したふりをしてもらう予定だった。そのために血のりまで用意してた。荒療治だけど、この場所で血が流れる怪我に直面するのはアルト君の刺激になるんじゃないかって。
I glanced at Angie and gave a small smile. So that's why you were washing your gi.
そういうこと。タイミング悪いよな。
Sorry sighed.
本当にエリが怪我するんだもん。こっちが驚いたよ。
So that just leaves one last thing. You said Eri was definitely going to win. How are you so sure of that? You didn't rig anything, did you?
そんなこと私にできるわけないでしょ。ただ信じてただけ。エリは勝つって。私も今度は心からエリを応援したかったし、あの予言は私とエリのためにどうしても必要なものだった。
I mean, this is anime, sorry, so that's why she won. I thought back again on what she had just said, and I remembered the way she looked that day, praying harder than anyone for Tachibana's victory.
ナルト君、私たちは3人とも今日まで深い罪悪感を抱えて生きてきた。あの時勇気を出せなかった自分を憎みながら今日まで生きてきた。エリは試合に負けて あの解体中の建物に逃げ込んだことを悔いてたし、アンジーはエリを見つけたのにそれを隠したことを悔いてた。私は自分の指はもう動かなくてもこの4人の人生を前に進めたかった。だから学園祭にまで行った。
Man, I was the one that got it the roughest, huh? Actually being delusional and shit. Well, I guess, I don't know. Being delusional means that I have a mental, disorder, right? But Sari here has a physical disorder. I feel like sometimes mental disorders are something that you can fix for sure. Well, maybe not fix, but patch up, right? You can kind of know how to deal with it at some point. But if something physical is taken away from you, like say you're amputated or whatever, you're not gonna get that leg back or your limbs back, you know? So since Angie was in on it, he stuck me on guide duty, and there I was, clueless, just waiting for Sari to show up.
そう。あとエリにカツを入れたかった。もうこの夏の計画の概要は頭の中にあったし、協力してもらいたかったから。でも
At that point, her gaze wavered.
ピアノの音が聞こえないのは、そこまでアルト君が追い詰められていたのは本当に知らなかった。
You don't think that me having Tokyo as my little brother is weirder than that? I think me being delusional is way worse than me not being able to hear the piano. Sorry.
ただピアノと向き合うのが怖くなってるだけだと思ってた。私みたいに。
So that's why you played for me on the first day. Sorry nodded.
ピアノに触れるようになった私の姿を見てほしかった。未来の記憶だって最初はおまじないみたいなつもりだったの。おばあちゃんに会いに来てた演奏者たちもあの断言に救われてたし。でもピアノを聴いたアルト君があんなことになって計画は中止するつもりだった。だってそうでしょ、私が思ってるよりもはるかに根深い問題に思えたから。
True enough. I guess you were a bit disgruntled when you saw my reaction to you playing the piano.
二人で湖に行った時、私はアルト君に今回のことを謝ろうと思ってた。
I recalled that day. If anything, it felt like Sari had only hardened her resolve even more at that time. I told her what I thought.
アルト君はあの時、湖を見て自分の地元の海に似てるって言った。それから弟の時雄君が神社とお寺を一緒くたにしてるとも。それで私の中に考えが浮かんだの。つまりアルト君は思い出したくない過去を境目にしてピアノの天才だった時雄君を自分の弟として作り出したんじゃないかって。
Couldn't you just ask my mom? I think my mom probably knows that since I talk about Tokyo a lot. I'm surprised you could come up with something so far-fetched. But who was I to say that? Still, those were the words that came out. After all, it was my own mind that had started this in the first place. The shrine sign I saw while riding the cub, the jokes I shared with Tokyo, the stories about Enoshima. I did tell her about all of that.
アルト君が違和感を持っている思い出が時雄君としての思い出ばかりだったから、ほとんど確信に変わった。アルト君が本気で自分の過去を別の誰かのものだと信じてピアノの音を封じ込めたなら、逆に他の誰かの未来の記憶を信じられれば、今度はピアノの音も取り戻せるんじゃないかって。
That's a weird way of thinking, but sure.
もう一度この計画を組み立て直してみようって。
And that was how we ended up here, apparently. I stood before the grand piano at the center of the stage, gazing down at its 88 keys. Tokyo was standing beside me. He looked up at me with eyes so pure they seemed almost fragile. Sorry, Tokyo. Big bro's been selfish, been selfish, hasn't he?
もういいの？
You're crazy! Arto's a nut job. I turned my gaze from the keys to Tokyo and nodded. Yeah, Big Bro finally feels like he can get a little stronger. I'm gonna say, he's probably saying Aniki or Nichan or something.
弾ける？
Who knows? I dropped my index finger onto a white key. No sound came. The color and slickness of blood stabbed into my mind.
僕が弾こうか？
Nah. I opened my eyes. Big Bro's going to play.
弾ける？
Not as well as you, but that's okay. I turned back to Sari. Sari, would you play with me one more time? She stared at me in surprise.
でもまだ。
It's okay. Whether I can hear it or not, it's the same. I won't be able to play well either way. It's been 10 years. My fingers won't even move right. I just want to play with you again.
私も弾けないよ。
Yes, and that's okay. Sari nodded, looking uncertain. We sat side by side on the bench for duets. Our feet now reached the floor. Tokyo took a step back and watched us, like a parent at a child's recital.
覚えてるの？あの時の曲。
She looked at me as she spoke. I think. I closed my eyes and set both hands on the keys. I could feel her doing the same beside me.
アルト君に合わせる。
Thanks. I opened my eyes and began moving my fingers. In a soundless world, 4 arms and 18 fingers danced nimbly. Sari's left ring and pinky fingers remained still. The other 3 struggled desperately to cover for them. Past memories seized my vision, and our hands became those of small children. The keys I touched bore red marks, the memory of blood. I stopped my fingers.
アルト君。
Her uneasy voice reached my ears. Sorry. It was alright. I already knew what this blood really was. It was the very future I stole from her. The memory of losing the person who had listened closest to my music. Tokyo was looking at me with concern. He was watching both me and Sari. Sari. Yeah, we don't call her Amani-san anymore. I'm sorry. I really regret taking you to that place. I regret it so much. Taking your dream away from you. She silently shook her head.
私はあんなことをアルト君に言ったことを後悔してるよ。誰のせいでもなかったのに。
Just now, you said if the 3 of you had found the courage, things would have been different. But that's not true. I was the most cowardly one. I didn't have the resolve to face my regrets. I pushed it all onto Tokyo. Tokyo gave a grown-up smile. Sorry about that, Tokyo. Man, I am crazy.
いいよそんなの。
To the 3 of them, I must have seemed like I was stumbling through my performance, muttering to myself. But that was okay. It was the truth. I was no longer a genius pianist. My 3 childhood friends had each laid bare their own weaknesses. In front of them, what was there left to be ashamed of? This was all I was. This was all I was. No one special. But I wasn't empty. What I had now was a real, certain past. One I regretted so deeply, I could never be done regretting it. Meeting Sari's gaze, I set my fingers on the keys once more. Sorry, let's start over.
もちろん。
I struck the keys, relying only on my fingers' memory. Keeping up with those movements took everything I had. The hands that had once become a child's were, before I knew it, adult hands again. My fingers lagged behind, stumbling over the movement etched in my memory. Sari was forcing the accompaniment with only 3 fingers of her left hand, fumbling note after note. I found myself laughing. She looked at me, and I looked back at her. Our eyes met.
何笑ってるの？
We must sound like a mess right now.
そうだね。フルコンの立派なピアノでこんな演奏してたら世界中のピアニストに怒られる。
Even so, we played with what remained to us. We bore the regrets from a past we could never return to, yet still found small joys in the present. At first, it sounded like water. A heavy current pulling a melody in the distance. The muffled sound drew nearer, its contours sharpening into focus as it approached me. What had once been a great mass, like a lake, broke apart into distinct droplets, each one swelling into harmony. It wasn't beautiful. Something foreign had intruded, disturbing the whole. Dissonance. I hadn't even realized it was our performance. That was how far the sound was from the way I remembered myself playing. This is horrible.
最悪？
Maybe it would have been better if I still couldn't hear it. Sari's hand stopped.
聞こえるの？
Unfortunately, I can. She stared at me for a moment, then laughed. I laughed too. I was better than this.
ブランクがあるって自分で言ったでしょ。
Yeah, but actually hearing it out loud, it's unbearable.
いつまでも天才気分でいるとまた病むよ。
She was right. To anyone's ears, I was no genius now. It was a horrible performance. I couldn't possibly let Dad or Sari's father hear this. And least of all, Tokyo.
でも僕は今の二人の演奏好きだよ。
Shut up, Tokyo. Thanks. Sorry the body you're coming back to is such a pitiful mess.
いいよ。母さんのことよろしくね。
Yeah, I know. All your big brother ever does is worry her, doesn't he? Tokyo's figure had already vanished. I could no longer hear his voice. He had finally, truly returned to me. Now I could go on living, with my past inside me.
時代くん、なんだって？
She asked, her fingers still fumbling. He said he liked our performance.
物好きだね。
I mean, he was a strange kid after all. We laughed together. Tachibana and Angie were also laughing from their seats. We were playing just for ourselves, for the simple joy of it. Sorry. With my gaze still lowered to my hands, I called out to her.
何？
Sari too answered while looking down at the keys. I could name 100 things I love about you too, Sari. She smiled faintly.
さあ、このひどい連弾が終わったらじっくり聞かせて。
I stole a glance at her face beside me. Because she had the courage to stand up on her own, the 4 of us were able to arrive at this peaceful moment. Watching the side of her face, I felt a quiet warmth rising within me. It was something I never wanted to forget. Whenever I gazed at Sari, I wanted to feel this warmth. I let my heart guide my stumbling fingers across the keys of memory, playing my melody. My harmonic reflections. Sure, name drop, title drop. That, I assume, is the Sari route. Which, to be honest, that was actually really good. I can't actually imagine this having a different route than this one. What the fuck is the Tachibana route gonna be like? That's going to be weird after seeing this. Are they... Who's singing this? I feel like the vocalist is familiar. I kind of lost track of my thoughts after listening to the voice. But yeah, I do think that this was actually a really darn... Angie and Aruto's father is the same person. Yeah, see, Owner and Sari's dad is the same guy. I knew it. Tokyo and Aki are the same though? That's insane. Yeah, see, I knew that Angie's voice was different when he was a kid. I knew it. But yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought after listening to the music. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I was talking about how Tachibana's route is gonna be like. Hinano Takashima. I actually don't think I know that person. Oh wait, Fuki. No, still I don't think I know who this is. I think this ended perfectly. I do think the romance was a bit like insane as they were a kid, but them trying to redeem themselves as they're growing up, that to me was very heartwarming. Yeah, everyone has regrets, right? But you know, you should try to get rid of those regrets. They're actually trying to not even just get rid of the regrets. They're trying to fix the problem. They're trying to fix the cause of the regret in the first place. Hey, there you are, Robert. I'd say the translation is pretty good, Robert. Even if there are some, I wouldn't say weird, like things that, you know, that's on the text at times. It's just like something that I personally don't see a lot of in you know, I don't know. I don't read a lot of novels, so maybe some of the phrasing that you put are more like novel-esque. But in a visual novel, I think usually you don't really need to be too formal with the translation. That's just my, you know, my opinion though. It's up to you what you really want to do with your translations. But I do feel like compared to the typical translations, you use quite a few big words that I don't know of. Not sure if it's intentional or not at times. I don't know what big words, but that's just what I feel like when I was playing through the game. If you were to make me pinpoint what the big words were, I probably don't know. Yeah, there we go. Sorry route complete. And then I unlocked the extra content. CG mode. And then music. 86%. So yeah, there's like one more route, it seems, with Tachibana. Because there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 more CGs, it seems. I think we'll do that on the next episode. This actually went on for quite a bit. Almost a 2-hour episode for Harmonic's Reflections? That is pretty insane if I do say so myself. I'm gonna assume like the way we get the Tachibana's route is all the way back in chapter 2. Let me load and see if we can do the other choice. Yeah, there we go. We can do the other choice. But yeah, with that said, I'm gonna call it an episode right here. So on the next episode, it will truly be the finale for Harmonic Reflections. But yeah, I gotta say, for such a short visual novel, it was alright. I do think the whole Tokyo thing is a bit far-fetched. It was crazy. It was but I've seen crazier stuff, so I didn't really think it was all that far-fetched. Which is why, you know, even before they talked about what the hell Tokyo was, I was already like thinking about, damn, we're loco. But okay, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Give this video a like if you guys like it. What's up if you guys haven't. Patreon will be getting these episodes early access along with everything uncensored. Nothing uncensored though, no need to worry. I just want to do my outro like usual because I only do this once a week. Also, for people on YouTube that aren't on Patreon just yet, feel free to become a free member because that's going to be where I put first episode previews of future playthroughs. I was going to play some Fate Stay Night after this, but it's 7:17 p.m. and I am not going to lie, I really want to play some more Symphony of War. That game has been eating at me. Holy shit. See you guys.